Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, I'm really excited and grateful. I get to speak to Peter Schupp. He is an amazing father of 4 wonderful children. 2 are homeschooling, 2 are in school. So we're going to talk about that unique situation. You've probably seen a YouTube video of him. It went viral with millions of likes. Basically, he cracked up laughing on a train and got the whole train laughing. It's hilarious. I'll drop a link so you can watch that. And you've probably also heard of his laughter yoga sessions. I've personally been to a few of these sessions. They're hilarious, as the name would suggest. You go home with sore cheeks from all the laughing. They're amazing. So if you do get a chance to go to any of Peter's laughter yoga sessions, I highly recommend them. They're wonderful. And today we're going to chat about his new app that he's just created. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait to hear more about it because I've been waiting for it for a while. We're talking about gratitude and obviously Peter's homeschooling journey as well, because he's a member of the homeschool community. Peter, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Tegan. Looking forward to this chat for sure.
I'll jump right in there. So you're in a super unique situation. You've got 4 kids, 2 in school, younger 2 are homeschooling. They're all doing really well with what they're doing. What made you choose to homeschool the younger 2?
River was at Steiner, like a Waldorf Steiner school, and it was okay, but there was a couple of reasons why it wasn't working for him. He has CAPD, which is a central auditory processing disorder, which as much as I like to buck trends from doctors, not prescriptions, what do you call it, where they give you a
The
name for
diagnosis?
something, diagnosis. He also, there was like this prick of a kid that was just really making it hard for him. And when you spend extra money to go to a beautiful school, you expect a beautiful experience and support of your child to utilize their school in a safe and happy environment. So, they don't kick out kids in private schools. So we were the ones to leave. And in the event of where I'm separated from Cara, the kid's mum, she was living in on a farm where there was literally a homeschool hub it was active at the time. So yeah, it made perfect sense to go down that route. So yeah, it was the reason. And then Taj just coming through with River after the fact, just coming in the same way.
Yeah, wonderful. So how's River doing now? Because that was obviously extremely stressful for him. We were in a similar situation with my youngest. Yeah, no blame on the school or whatever, but it couldn't work.
Yeah, so it goes great for him. I had the kids on, it's Wednesday now, I had them on the Friday, and they're just so easily getting their books open, doing their work. And yeah, I found that to be the easiest session I've ever had with them. And I have them every second Friday to do the homeschooling. And yeah, so it's definitely something that I can't put my hand up and say that I'm a homeschool dad.
Well, you're healthy.
Well, the difference between when your kid is at your house 100% of the time and you're homeschooling them is genuinely, I appreciate, a whole different life and style. So yeah, I definitely want to put that out there, that I'm in the homeschooling system, but one day out of a fortnight is not a huge burden. But the reality is I feel the pain and the challenge of being a homeschooling dad, because it is not easy, and it doesn't, and because I'm not in flow with it, if I've only got one day a fortnight, I'm not in flow with it, and that makes it quite difficult. I have these great ideals, and like the full Captain Fantastic, dreams of creating this amazing experience for them. But then Friday comes and it's more challenging and it's more constricted, and it's, you know, there's time, you know, challenges, and, you know, actually getting them to do the work challenges that take away the gloss and the dreams of having this epic day with them, and having my experience play out the way that I would hope.
I think you're beating yourself up a little bit there, though, because realistically, in most households, one parent, and typically it is the mum, generally, the dad will go to work, and typically it's the mum, but that's not always the way. You know, sometimes it's roles reversed, or 2 mums, 2 dads, whatever. But typically, one parent does end up doing 100% of the homeschooling, and the other parent does the work. So, and certainly in my case, it was me doing 100% of the homeschooling, and my husband had to work and hasn't really been able to do housework or any of that kind of stuff. So you're beating yourself up for only doing 1 day a fortnight, when realistically you were doing a lot more than a lot of parents, because that's just the way it works. And it's not a bad thing. Like, it's just, I'm responsible for the homeschooling in our house, and there's a lot of other parents in the same situation. So you shouldn't beat yourself up.
Yeah, I don't want to promote people having separations, but it can work quite well for both parents being able to have some time off with their kids.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful that you're jumping in and doing 1 day a fortnight. I can imagine it could be a little bit jarring getting into the flow, because you will have done some things with the kids, and then by the time the next 2 weeks rolls over, they've probably learned a lot more on that than you have. So you have to play catch up.
Well, they're young, and I consider myself not, you know, bad at school, so I can catch up. But it was definitely, the future is kind of scary, I suppose, in that respect, more than currently, as River is turning 11 soon, so, and Taj is turning 7 soon, so.
Oh, that's such a
Yeah, I mean, you certainly, yeah, it's adorable. He's amazing, and they're both amazing. They are, and I'm so proud of them. And it's interesting to see how difficult it is to teach, you know, what it is that you take for granted, and like just the simple things, like everyone knows language is just insanely hard to learn when you're a small child, and just all of the intricacies and the challenges of just the simple English language. Or I wouldn't say it's simple. The English language is. I've
honestly, I've learned so much English, because I just didn't really, I think my brain switched off in about grade 3, and that was it. I struggled from then on, but I didn't let anyone know that I was struggling, because how do you articulate that you're struggling? So I didn't, but since homeschooling, I've learnt, you know, the difference between the 3 theirs. I learned that homeschooling, and the difference between the 2 yours, and contractions. I learned all about contractions. I didn't know any of that shit before I started homeschooling, and now I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy school?
No, not really. It was a safe place to be when home wasn't. So I enjoyed going to school, but I couldn't think straight. I was always in a fog. I always had headaches. At that stage, I wasn't diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but it's something you're born with. So I just assumed everyone was in agony and had a headache and couldn't think and couldn't hear properly and couldn't see properly. Like, I just assumed these were all the problems everyone was facing, so I didn't speak up. So school was not for me, but it was better than home. So I learned so much homeschooling, which has just been amazing. It's been so good for me, and obviously good for the kids. Like, the youngest is in uni, they're doing okay.
We're at the right age for learning. You know, like when you're older, you have a greater thirst for learning potentially than when you're a child.
Yeah, because you don't appreciate, when you're a kid, I think you don't appreciate how challenging it is to learn, and you're like, I think most children are sponges. So we should be teaching children languages and things as young as possible. Maybe.
I think I was kind of competitive at school, you know, like my thirst for learning was more out of some degree of wanting to not be the teacher's pet, but wanting to prove myself to people that yeah, this is what I can achieve.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of that, but my need to be invisible and unseen just completely outweighed that. But I didn't want to piss anyone off either, so I just was really quiet.
Okay.
So
I was the
going back
opposite.
to being,
I had a captive audience of 30 people that I could entertain and play up with, and find the line of what I could cross or not cross in terms of what the teacher's expectation of my, you know, ability to be able to be entertaining slash, you know, distracting for people. So yeah, it was, and
you were
that
the
is
class
literally
clown, weren't you?
100%. And it was, yeah, it was gold. It was just, and I've used that experience in what I do now. Like I literally am so comfortable talking to a group of people because of situations like that. My whole 12 years of, you know, and you know, I had to do it in an element of respect, right? Because I
Yeah.
knew that there was a line there, and I wanted to be, generally, I had good teachers that I needed to be on side with me, so that it gave me more potential to be able to entertain the class. So yeah, it was a
That's
bit of a
amazing.
dance.
It's working for you though.
100%. Yeah,
So
I
good.
look back on life. I do try and piece things together about how I come to be in this position. And my parents are religious, and so I used to go to church, and so I think in Sunday school was where I learned how to be a smart ass. Just because you couldn't get in as much trouble in Sunday school. Like no one's kicking you out of Sunday school.
Yeah, they're
Um,
volunteers. They're too tired. They're
yeah.
whatever. Do what you want to do.
And I was so well connected.
Oh no. I feel
Yeah.
like that's probably the best thing you learnt during your school years. Now, one thing I think all of us homeschool parents have in common is that we start learning other things with our kids. So far, you're right at the beginning of your journey. Your kids are young. What's one of
Yeah.
your favorite things that you've learnt so far with homeschooling?
Actual learning off them or just with them? Because I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than a child in that learning state.
Yeah.
You know, the face they have when they're concentrating,
That
and
curiosity.
the curiosity, and the, you know, the joy of, you know, getting something right, and just seeing how that energy, you know, like you've got to try and work with their energy,
Yeah.
and you know, make sure they've got that, you know, ability to be able to concentrate. um yeah, I think, have I learned anything specific from the work they've done? I couldn't say that I had, but I'm pretty forgetful as it is. So I don't know. I
It's a bit
probably
harder
forgot.
when your oldest is 11, though. I believe you probably surpassed that level at school.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, reality is like, you know, because when you do schooling as a kid, like you don't remember anything of what you've done, but you know, just that massaging of the brain muscle and having the ability to, you know, see how to learn and figure out how, you know, and the building blocks of like the steps that it takes to get to the more difficult subjects is part and parcel of the schooling process. I appreciate, but I do have a wonder for how it's always been an issue, right, with how relative it is, that the information that they're learning based on where we're going in our, you know, development as humans in this exponential growth rate that we're going to hit with like chat GPT and things. So
Yeah, there's definitely, I think there's a lot of stuff in the curriculum that's probably not necessary at this point.
no, I can only think that it is just, you know, a way to make the brain learn how to learn.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and I think you as well, obviously, I think everything you do in life is learning. There's a lesson in everything. Everything is learning.
Yeah, you just need to switch that perspective on and try and find little golden nuggets of information that you can take with you.
Now, tell us about Game On, because this is the new exciting thing you've been doing. You used to do a lot of laughter yoga, hopefully still doing that, but Game On.
Yeah, Game On is a product of COVID, would you believe? Because I could no longer laugh in confined spaces or public places in groups, because laughter is a super spreader, because you don't put your hand over your mouth when you laugh like you would when you sneeze. So, and I knew, as much as I am passionate about the benefits of laughter yoga, it's always been a hard sell. It's always a challenge to sell positivity. And there's only so far that I could take laughter yoga on my journey of trying to, always find a way to use my wellness business to be my main source of income and hopefully create more time richness in my life. So at the start of COVID, my brain has always been ticking, right? With laughter being a challenge for people to come across to, I've always had a buzz in my mind about how to put things in a way where the penny will drop, where people see the value in doing the simplest steps on a wellness journey for themselves. So I've had, what was that, about 9 years of that thought process. And my trade that I do for my main source of income, I can do in a pretty easygoing flow state. So I don't have to think too hard about what it is that I'm doing. So it gives me time to think or listen to a podcast or something. And so I put all of my learnings together, and I thought about this acronym. And because I'm always about systems, I believe systems to be the way you create a scalable business, because you can sell a system to someone and they can do the system. But if you're going to be creating something that is not selling a system, then you have to be the facilitator.
Yeah.
You've got to facilitate that workshop, that journey, whatever it is that you're trying to promote. So in essence, I kind of just started with gratitude, and then my mind started spinning on what else is of value and how do I create a catchy acronym. And Game On came to me. And at first I just thought it would be a great way to, it was literally a coffee meditation. That's when I first thought, like, so you were to just take your morning coffee, because coffee's so popular, just went with the popular thing, the morning routine, and just sniff the coffee and, think of what you're grateful for and have a sip. And then, your next thought is awareness for how you feel. And then your next step was set your intention for the day. And then the next step was, think of a mindful moment. There'd be like, I had all sorts of, like a QR code on coffee cups that you'd just give to the, coffee shops down St. George's Terrace in Perth City. And just to be able to get people thinking, and just, I didn't quite know how to monetize it, like the on is organized non-doing. And, that came later. And I was like, that was a good self-promotion tool that I thought would help gather people's interest. And then from there, I could direct them towards my laughter yoga workshops. And then by, wanting to, work with that, I got a business coach. I was chatting with him, and he's all about online courses, and so he's like, well, great, just start an online course for it. And I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. How about I create it as an app that would actually potentially work? And to do with the business coach, with the course that, I signed up with him, I needed to get a MacBook.
Oh.
And I didn't realize how difficult Macs are to actually run. I thought they were intuitive and easy, and they were, the world's most, simplest computer systems, right? But I just felt like I was literally walking around the backyard and it was just filled with rakes. And every step I would step on a rake and it would whack me in the face. So not being a very technically minded person, I had to get an IT guy. And I happened upon this IT guy at a friend's house. And I got him around and I just was quizzing him on things. And I found that his favorite thing of all is to build computer games. All right. So computer games are actually quite technical and quite challenging. But his other thing, based on the fact that computer games are extremely challenging and time consuming, is that he has this great desire to help people get their ideas out into the world via apps, because they're a great tool. And he wanted to reduce the amount of obstacles on that journey for people, because he just loves the idea of helping people get their ideas out there. And so that was the start of what is now, 2 years later, the release of the Game On app.
Wow. So we're going to back up just a little bit. So G, gratitude, A, awareness, I, intention, M, mindfulness. Game on.
Yeah. And then on is the organized non-doing, which has the non-doing has the value of meditation without having to climb a mountain to, get to the source of your enlightenment. So yeah, I find whenever I do my laughter yoga courses, I finish with a meditation, and I ask everybody, hi, who here has meditated today? And I get like 1 or 2 hands if I'm lucky. And then I'm like, who has meditated before? And might get a couple of hands. So I knew that there was like a barrier to meditation, but I really value meditation and have meditated for a long time. But knowing that in the real world, just like vegetarianism, there's not that many vegetarians in the world. But if you're in depending on what circles you keep, you think everyone's, a vegetarian until you go to a restaurant and there's only one thing on the menu. And then you're like, hang on a minute. There can't be that many vegetarians in the world. Otherwise, this menu would look different. So, yeah, I've tried to, in essence, put something together that works.
Oh, I can't wait to see this app. And I guess I just wanted to make it clear, like when you're talking about being being grateful and expressing your gratitude in that, we're not talking about toxic positivity, ignoring all your issues, because sometimes shit's hard. Sometimes it does feel like everything's very, very difficult. We're not suggesting that you need to pretend you're perfect and pretend you don't have any challenges, because that's just completely unrealistic. For me personally,
yeah, I mean, the reality is, people are vulnerability is a beautiful thing, and people having the freedom to express their challenges is actually something the whole world needs.
yes.
And as much as that is amazingly engaging for the world, if you're journaling, you may not want to put your crap out there, that when you're feeling your worst and you're actually writing something that's super personal. So you do not have to publish your journaling entry, because I didn't explain that the process is that you answer the questions of what are you grateful for, awareness for how you're feeling, setting your intention, you do a mindful moment, you set a clock or an alarm for when you believe to be a good time to do non-doing for like 5-10 minutes, whatever you can manage. And then you choose an inspiring picture or a picture that resonates with you. And then that goes onto a wall, a public feed, or you create a team of your own. And by doing this, your first 3 questions that you answered get animated over this picture. And it just looks beautiful. It's like, I've always been inspired, or, just loved those old 80s inspirational posters.
Yes.
And if you're working, sometimes I work in libraries, and I just love working in a library because there's always so many posters around. Or like when I'm in schools and there's like one of those rooms where there's a heap of like inspirational posters. I just can't get enough of them. I actually tried very quickly and shortly to create a business where companies would get us in to take photos of their workplace, and we put little slogans and, tried to make that a thing. But, in my journey of trying things out, this one kind of stuck. So you get this beautiful, inspiring wall of all of these people's journaling that ends up on this old school Instagram style wall, where you get to see just this beautiful color and a life in their answers that helps you kind of connect on a deeper level, and you see the person and their struggles and their challenges. But there's also an opportunity to not have to post your entry on the wall.
Wonderful.
But there is an accountability factor. There's like a rev limiter to see how many people in your team have actually done the work. So the job is to do the work, and by doing it, even when you're not feeling great, it helps you. And if there's an accountability factor to help your team get to 100% of the team have done their work that day, or their personal development in the journaling, then you're doing things for more reasons than just yourself. You're actually, there's teamwork involved, because you want your team to get their 100% or whatever you can manage, depending on your day and challenges that you've faced in a real world. But yeah, that's the crux of it, you could say.
Well, there's 3 things I really, really love about that. So it's community, you're supporting each other, keeping it real. I think parents in general, we like to only talk about the good shit, and we struggle to be honest and real when things aren't going so great. And the 3rd one was accountability, because it's very easy to start something. It's really hard to keep going with stuff.
I've got a friend on there that's been testing with us, and he said that there's been nothing that he's ever stuck with for this long. And yeah, I'm so pleased by that.
Now, I think as homeschooling parents, it can be really easy for us to get tunnel vision a little bit and just think, where can we tick extra curriculum boxes, and what can we get our kids to do to learn? And it can be very easy to just add things to their to-do list. And I'm looking at this thinking, probably just telling kids to be grateful for things, and then trying to get them to articulate what they're grateful for, in particular teenagers, that can often cause more of a conflict than what it's going to solve. So in that instance, what do you suggest homeschoolers or families in general can do to help our kids get involved with gratitude?
Yeah, I have a 17 and a 15-year-old myself as well. So I totally get how extraordinarily challenging it is to get them to do things that to benefit them. So I would say that pushing them to do anything, especially if it's a new thing, is not, you can read your kids, like, if they're going to be interested in this or not. But in essence, it's something that it's like the simple, saying of, put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. And I think being in a homeschool environment, you need to be a good leader. You need to show people how to live, and then they will, absorb that more than the words you speak or what you say they should do. So, I've been really big in my own life of trying to show my kids a healthy lifestyle. and that being more important than what I tell them to do, because I can't, as a tradesperson, I've had a lot of apprentices that I've been able to practice my leadership style training with. So, I know that, I need to be respectful. I need to know, I need to, value that these are going to be young adults very soon. And I need to give them room to make their own decisions and make their, and be part of the decision-making process to help there be some sort of progress. And so by pushing something on someone that isn't interested, you're wasting your time. But by looking after yourself and showing, really good self-care is a step in the right direction for being able to promote the value of wellness, and how you come across and the way you speak and the changes that are apparent in you is noticeable to people that are in your care. So I definitely think that, this isn't, no wellness tools are that easily transferred to children. But it's all about doing as much as you can for yourself and just reading the room and just seeing how, that's going to work. I mean, I've got my opportunity to be able to implement the system and tools in a way that without actually teaching or going through it with the kids, the tagline for Game On is win the day.
Yeah.
And that's based on my experience of just trying to create, I have team meetings with my kids on the regular to make sure that everyone is, they're heard, their wishes, dreams, desires. I say, okay, throw them out there. What do you want to achieve today to create your best day? And by doing so, you don't get to the end of the time of the day and someone's been hanging on to an expectation of what they were going to be able to do that day, and it never actually registering with the rest of us. So, by taking these steps is, I've seen, well, I'm going on a tangent there, but I have my youngest sitting there at breakfast saying, okay, so how are we going to win the day?
Wow. Yeah.
And just that simple, mindset of him, catching part of Game On. And, I have like coffee cups with Game On, win the day, and he can read that. And so he just enjoys the simple, three-letter words and being able to read. But, it's having that stuff around, it's having a Game On sticker on the fridge or something that, people just absorb in their own way, in their own time. I went to a psychologist with my kids, my oldest kids, and one time I went to the psychologist on my own, and she said, look, like, being the challenge of teenagers and how hard it is to actually make sense of, the work that you're doing, if it's actually, sinking in or it's resonating. And she said, well, the work that you're doing now will help them when they're 30.
Yeah. They'll
And
fall
for
back
me,
on it.
Yeah. Like, like for your entire happiness score, right? It's divided into, you get 50 points from your nature nurture, or the foundation of what you believe to be true for your own happiness potential. You get 10% for your situation, whether it's your house or your car or, just those, modern conveniences and things. And then you get 40 points a day to play with and create your own mindset and your own, ability to be able to, decide how I'm going to feel today. So, no one gets 50 points from their nature and nurture. And we certainly bemoan, even the best situations that you would see in parenting or someone's life that they grew up in would be close to 50, but no one ever gets to 50, it seems. Your situation is interesting that you get very little points for that, which is, the whole consumerism and that system of thought where, you know, everyone's working their ass off to get a better house, better car, and everything, and it doesn't actually, you know, move the dial on how happy you end up being. But yeah, it's the 40 points that you get to work with that is what Game On is all about, is being able to try and change that, shift that mindset, and give yourself in a system a way of nurturing that mindset.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that the little one is just saying, right, we're going to win the day. So just to boil that down, if your kids just got their first period and they're crying because the milk lid is now the wrong color, probably not the right time to demand that they express what they're grateful for.
Horrible timing. Yeah, no, it's
yeah, I do like that. Model with something like this, model the behavior, set up the team so they can join if they want to, create opportunities, but you can't force it. You just want to hope that they're going to come and join you.
Yeah, and the time, the work that you do, the environment that you create will click at some stage. And that foundation points, you know, we're working with that 50 foundation points for our kids. And so every single effort and thing that you put in, you know, you cannot like not get a basis point for them by putting in that effort. It just will happen.
Yeah.
So you do have to be careful what you say, what you do, you know, what you drink, and all of these exercise, you know, in your active lifestyle, like how you do everything is absorbed. And in a homeschooling environment, there's even greater, you know, level of how that would be absorbed, you know, with the time period that you spend. So yeah, all of the effort you put in is going to be realized, but maybe just not right now.
Yeah, you have to get through the teenage years. But having said that, I do definitely, not that we should really be comparing homeschool children to not homeschool children, because I think all children are unique and have their challenges and they face their issues. But certainly we've been very, very lucky. I think the homeschool children that we've met and Riley's group of friends, absolutely amazing, just gorgeous children, just beautiful souls and such wonderful influences as well. We're extremely grateful that our child gets to hang out with these people. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I get to see the stark difference between my schoolers and my homeschoolers. And it's phenomenal. Like, you know, we could talk about this for hours, honestly. Like,
that could be another podcast.
Be another podcast. It's an interesting experiment, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I myself, we had one homeschool for 2 years and then go back into the school system, and then that wasn't really working either. So kind of bounced between TAFE and RTOs and different things. And then Riley just homeschooled the whole way up to university and then has been in university. This is her 3rd year uni now. So not that there's comparing each of the kids, but it's that stark difference in attitude and a willingness to stick at what they're passionate about. I think Riley was perhaps a little bit luckier to discover their passions earlier, whereas I think Amelia didn't have that opportunity at such a young age because she didn't start homeschooling till year 5. So it was more challenging for her.
I would love to know how Riley's journey went there when she started university. That's so interesting.
Yeah, there is a podcast on it.
I can imagine. That's so good.
There's an interview. It's only about 15 minutes, but it's really cool. It was my first interview I did with Riley, and it was basically, all right, how did you get into uni?
Oh, you need to revisit that. It could go for hours.
Yeah, definitely. And I've actually interviewed 2 different kids about that because they both chose different avenues of getting into their chosen uni. So there's 2 different ones. Sure. All right, we're up to the speed round. Do you know the rules for the speed round?
I've got 10 seconds to answer.
10 seconds. And basically, I don't include this speed round to be snarky or bitchy or whatever. It's just to take a lighthearted look at what people think of homeschoolers, because we've been homeschooling for 10 years. We've heard it all. So this is just to laugh it off. All right. Dumb shit that people have said about homeschooling. You've probably heard it all too.
Oh, it's hilarious. They think that you're protecting them, but River literally got punched in the face on his first day of homeschooling. So
No, we're coming back to that. We're circling back to that, okay? All right. Homeschoolers are weird.
Definitely, but who wants to be anything but different? Like, yeah, please. We need different people. We don't need more of the same.
See, I got excited by that because so far 100% of the homeschoolers I've said that to have gone, yeah, fuck it, we are.
Yeah. It's a
Number
beautiful thing.
2, if you homeschool your kid, they will never get into uni.
I have no idea. You've said that Riley's in university, so that kills that button. But I think I don't know how relevant university is for everyone.
This is the other thing. Why does it have to be the end goal? Like, it's a great end goal for kids who want careers that require the university degree, but why does it have
Yeah,
to
which
be
I appreciate. There's definitely those jobs where you need someone to have gone to a school for a long period of time to learn the things of which
But
you
hope our
require the
doctors have
service
gone
of.
to university.
And yeah, we also need those weirdos too.
Yeah. Homeschool kids don't socialize or have friends.
Oh my gosh, they thrive with people. Yeah, people love people. Yeah.
How will homeschool kids ever get a job when they aren't learning how to cope at school?
I don't think school is a natural environment that replicates the working environment.
I agree. The last one, this is probably a bit personal for you as it is for me. Children who don't go to school never learn how to deal with bullies, so they miss out on life lessons about conflict resolution and handling mean people.
Oh, we've got 4 kids in a house. They're so like insanely mean to each other at times. And and yeah, conflict resolution is definitely something that you need to learn your entire life, not just at school.
Absolutely. All right. I have my last question for you is, so this app, I've been excited about it for ages. When will it be ready? Where can we get it?
It is ready, and we can get it. If you've got an iPhone currently, it's good for iPhone, but in a few weeks, I mean, this thing's taken 18 months longer than I expected to actually complete. But so hopefully by the time this podcast is out, it's Android
Yay.
ready. But if you're an iPhone, if you're a sheeple on the iPhone, then you're ready to go. Yeah, just plug in Game On, GAIMON. It doesn't always come up for everyone. Don't ask me why, but there's a billion apps, and yeah. If
Can
you'd
I
like
drop the
to check
link?
in, yeah, you can check in with me. I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. Peter Schupp, SCHUPP, and yeah, on my Facebook page, and then Game On Facebook and Instagram. I have not spent much time there plugging those 2 business pages, but I must.
Well, can I put a link in the description so people can jump straight to the app and download it if they want?
Golden. Love it.
Yay. Awesome. Oh, coming back to how did River get punched on his first day at homeschooling?
Oh, because
What a way to end it.
some homeschoolers are just free rangers, right? They just, I don't know. I mean, it shocked and amazed, and it didn't please me, but I was like, I got to be able to have an answer for people thinking that homeschoolers avoid real life situations or challenges that you find in the, compartmentalized schooling system that is what most people like to suffer in more than their own home.
Kids, yeah, exactly. Kids make mistakes, right? Homeschool kids make mistakes. Kids at school make mistakes. Kids do dumb shit sometimes.
Oh, we're constantly making mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Adults make mistakes. I make mistakes all the freaking time.
Oh, I'm a tradesperson. Like, I've got a motto that, tradespeople don't know, what they're doing. They just know how to fix their fuck ups. So that's a beat for you.
Excellent. We're going to end on that. That's perfect. Peter Schupp, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really enjoyed
Thank you
this
so much.
chat. I'm going to share a link to your Facebook and the app. I have to wait a few weeks for the Android app, but by the time this goes live, they'll both be there anyway because it's pre-recorded.
That's my deals.
Okay, thank you so much.
Love your work. Thank you.
Bye.